housing crisis in America is that people were gambling on mortgages and things like that. What do you think? How do you think these funds gained money? How do you think they get
exactly
broke?
what it is.
It's
just not banks, so it's
I got the idea. What if we do the thing that made America collapse in 2008? That'll do it.
This is the U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
I don't know anything about this fucking country, and I guarantee you that the bloc right now coming from the Green Party is going to ask for, like, what is the bill? How much are they? How much billions?
10?
10 billion for the whole thing. They're probably going to say they want 2 billion in direct housing right now. Just a guess. Maybe 4. What do you think?
Address it. It's been a long time coming, but I can't stay silent.
Isn't this Serbia down here? This looks like the Serbia shield suits, like fascist to me. I'm just kidding.
Think it
on
is,
it anymore. Too many of you have been asking for my opinion. Is the 1975's Matty Healy a dirtbag dreamboat or just another problematic white dude who needs to shut up and amplify marginalized voices? Well, I think the problem with that question is it's just so binary when in fact two things can be true at the same time. Matty Healy can have his heart in the right place, but like any cishet white dude bro can also do things that are really insane.
Bro, what is this even about? Why are we watching this? Why are we watching this dude talk about like some singer?
And rip through the hearts of our most marginalized communities. But as you know, I'm not interested in performative activism. Canceling people doesn't create change. Change comes from constructive conversations. What I think needs to be done
is just advertising, I think.
Canceling people 100% makes things change. 100%. Deplatforming works, bro. It fucking works. All right. You know what doesn't? Platforming. Conversations do not work. That's why a scientist doesn't want to go debate RFK, because it doesn't accomplish anything. It actually just platforms bad ideas, you know? And certain people are fine. Certain people disagree with this. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to host fascists. And they say, no, I will do it. I will talk to these people. And like, Foster's very good at it with debating. Like, he'll debate fascists and all these like cooked people all the time. He has no reason, you know? But, you know, he's a very like anecdotal type thing. And for the most part, just deplatform people. They kind of go away. Whatever happened to that one guy who, you know, the weird racist gay guy?
Oh, the gay guy that turned straight.
Yeah, and then he started selling things for like the Christian Hotline channel or something. What was his name? Milo Yiannopoulos. That's his name.
Whatever happened?
Sounds like a Greek name. You can't blame him for diddling kids.
Is Maddie needs to be sat down by someone from these marginalized communities, and they need to say, listen, Maddie, we know your heart is...
Didn't pause in time, but I was just going to say, I would rather do something very specific to myself in Minecraft than go to that show.
In the right place, and you don't mean to hurt.
It would just be white noise to me. I can already barely understand anything he's saying.
Hurt so many people, but as a member of a community you've hurt so deeply through your actions over the years. As a person with ears, I gotta say your son stink. Anyway, since I'm already having a go at anemic twinks, why are the Greens
was that a minute-long setup to be like, I have ears and that's why your music sucks? It was a minute-long joke to set up to talk about somebody who I have no idea who the fuck that is. Hilarious.
I don't even know who it is.
Huh? Yeah.
I don't even know who it is.
Pick a fucking musician people know. Like Lizzo. To clown on Lizzo. Everyone does that, you know?
$1 billion fund for public housing. Sorry, just got out of the shower. Liz Moore, I'm coming.
You're advertising your fucking event again to me now.
It's his comedy show.
We already got an advertisement in the first minute.
To your town tomorrow, and Sydney, I'm coming a few days afterwards. Get your tickets. Links in the description. Don't you think Matty Healy looks like a Greens MP?
Oh my god!
And you can't get out.
We don't know who he is.
angry at me for addressing this. We did a poll on my Patreon on what my patrons wanted me to make a video on, and the top result was the Greens wedged Labour.
Obviously,
if
Matty
you want
Healy.
me to make a video on why Adam Bandt is the true king of the manosphere, join my Patreon and vote for it. Look,
No.
I'm that cheap. If enough of you vote for it, an entire video could be this.
You sit in the speed.
Oh, you mean you're bought? You're easily bought? Okay, good to know. Cheaply bought.
That wages growth wasn't going particularly well. What's the current
I can't understand what they're saying with the music.
WPI?
Google it, mate.
Great response. Thanks. That's fucking hilarious.
Look, all I'm saying is the future of the Greens depends on you joining my Patreon. I'll fix their entire messaging. No longer will they be the soy boy party with that classic pastel millennial graphic design.
Then they wouldn't be the Greens. They would be
Exactly.
Labour.
That's the whole Greens'
This
shtick.
is the point. This is the point. The Greens aren't supposed to win, Jordan. They're not supposed to win.
Designer chic. They will be the badass manosphere predator philosopher party. Max Chandler Mather, their housing spokesperson, will no longer dress like me, an autistic 10-year-old on an excursion to the aquarium. We will use the Patreon money to buy him a robe and one of those watches that looks like a Hot Wheels car. That way, he can actually maintain the youth vote. But alas, for now, we're stuck with the hosts of Chapo Shithouse podcast, basically running the Greens messaging. Before we really get into why the Greens are blocking the housing fund, just watch a clip from Tom.
Is it is this Chapo Trap House?
No, it's a terrible,
He said Chapo
terrible.
Shit House. So are these people from Chapo Trap House?
No, he's saying that they're a shit version of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're paid for by a political party, aren't they?
I don't actually know about that. What's it say in the description there? Not an official Greens Party podcast. Okay, so I think it's basically these two are just Greens bootlickers and only have Greens
Do they have
politicians
Greens PAC money? Do you have PACs in your country? Anything like that?
No, but CPAC is here, which is great.
Ballard's unofficial Greens podcast.
Yeah, that's good for us. We should have just let him talk, and then we would learn.
Yeah, Tom Ballard is also he's a comedian, but he's like he's even less funny than what's that chick that did the monologue and called it a comedy special? What's her name?
Hannah something.
Yeah, that's it. Hannah Gadsby. He's less funny than her.
Oh, I thought that was Hannah Gadsby.
I would rather watch her monologue called a comedy than anything he does. So this will be
this is like a podcast, right?
Well, yeah, but it's
because when I think how are we going to get Green voters? First thing I'm doing podcast.
Yeah,
that's how we'll get the kids.
Well, it's at a comedy club, so they did it in front of a live audience.
Well,
what a misery!
That was their podcast page.
No, look, it says at the Good Chat Comedy Club.
I'm sure he does a lot better than those losers for his little live show.
I think he probably would actually.
I'm good with going to both. Thank God we live in a free market.
Housing spokesperson Max Chandler Mather. This is so you get an understanding of the level of genuine revolutionary fervor Labor are up against.
Because Albanese's been there since 1996, right? Like, so if you've been there for most of his life, he doesn't have the same perspective as sort of the fresh eyes that you come into this place thinking about how cooked this is.
You know what I'd really, really, really want to see when I go to a comedy club? Is 3 dickheads sitting on a stage talking.
I was going to comment on, oh yes, depressing castle, hilarious. That's what I think of when I think of jokes, is the torture dungeon.
And terrible acoustics.
Right? The established politicians are super old, right? And you're going to be the young guy, and you know what the kids want. And I'm surprised they're not sitting in their chairs backwards right now.
I assume that he thinks, the system works pretty well. We just got to do it in the right sort of Labor way, you know?
Yeah, that's right. I'm not sure what he thinks, to be honest. But that seems like a kind reading. I don't think they think...
No, you're right. He's a dumb cunt.
I think that's a woman.
Sorry to steal your material, Jess.
You can have that. No,
it is.
At first. How long's your podcast been going? Over a year and a half.
What did you say?
I was like, I think that's a woman. And it is. The one in the middle.
Don't assume her gender. She's a green member. I mean, they're a green member. All greens are non-binary.
They green
and you still haven't hit 1,000.
Also, all bottoms.
And you think the Greens have this mandate to govern? The idea that a coked-up ex-radio host knows more about power and public policy than a VB'd-up career politician, it really...
Yes, when I saw that guy, the first thing I thought is, he is high as fuck on cocaine and definitely not milk toast.
He should show you the level of undergrad hubris infesting the current crop of Greens. To explain why Albanese's actions in office aren't line-by-line Greens policy by saying, oh, he's a dumb really undermines the credibility of any...
He's a dumb cunt.
He is a dumb cunt.
The Greens aren't credible. No,
they're not meant to be.
no politician is.
No, exactly.
But especially not the Greens.
Anything else said on this podcast, you're either just extremely dishonest or you're just a dumb cunt. I mean, I have a lot to say about John Howard, but he wasn't a dumb cunt who just couldn't comprehend the complexity and ingenuity of Labor's vision. It was the same with Malcolm Turnbull, Dom Perrottet, John Barrett. Well, no, actually, he is a dumb cunt. At the same time, you have Max Chandler Mather whinging about civility and personal attacks like he's fucking Nancy Pelosi. But sit there whilst his druggo friends
look, a reference you'll get.
Insult our Prime Minister.
Does Nancy Pelosi do that?
Yeah, she whinges a bit.
Cry about being bullied and stuff?
No, she was crying about Trump being mean for a long time.
Also, Nancy Pelosi had somebody attack her house and hit her husband in the head with a hammer.
That is true. That did happen.
Anyone is whinging.
And I think in their like comms addled brains,
his whinging is especially dumb with the personal attack that was so bad was this.
The Green spokesperson on housing. The Green spokesperson on housing, let me talk to you about the Green spokesperson on housing. You know, he's had a taste of the media spotlight. He's had a taste of the media spotlight. Your spokesperson on housing is now prioritising media attention from stunts and obstruction over housing for women and kids fleeing domestic violence. How shameful.
I mean, I'm fine with Max Chandler.
They said I'm going to have to edit a cut here because I'm pulling this up. He's saying that kind of behavior is fine. That's perfectly acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Or that's not something that is like, you can't be like, that was kind of uncalled for to be like that. All right. Now you tell me the difference between the clip he just showed and the clip I'm about to show.
I have asked the member to withdraw. That's the first statement he made. I again asked him to withdraw. He did. But given that you are raising a concern, I will again check the Hansard. Can, for now, the honourable member proceed?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. You say some of us don't know English properly. And then
Honourable
we
Matisha,
can only come and say,
Honourable
hong, 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 like that.
Honourable Matisha.
Yes. Hong, hong, hong.
Honourable Matisha.
Hong, hong.
Honourable Matisha.
That's the only thing that she knows.
Honourable Matisha.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Well, can you tell me the difference between is that the type of behavior you want in your like political office? I certainly don't. Like I like some spice, but like it's like Marjorie Taylor Greene booing like Joe Biden during the speech. It's like, shut up, fucking baboon. She was literally dressed like a baboon that day.
Well, it's funny because the Australian Parliament is such a shit throwing contest. It's just a joke. Like if you there's some choice clips. They're just arguing like it's high school. It's pathetic. It really is.
Is it better than this?
I don't know the answer they got.
Oh, hang on. We're going to need subtitles for this. I'm sure the subtitles won't let us down.
Payments in 2019. That's 2018. That's totally wrong.
Same issue last time, caller. Same issue last time, caller. And have you a card?
Of course I have.
Sure.
Same issue.
Uh-oh. It's already shut down. It said, course I have, and all we got was course. Uh-oh. Come on, subtitles. They're speaking English. Come on.
Yes, hold on 1 minute. Hold on, Deputy McSharry. Hold on, Deputy McSharry.
He didn't say time.
What is happening?
Come on, subtitles. It's not music. It's Irish people.
This is. Did subtitles break or did you turn them off?
It's not applause. Subtitles.
I'm going to move on.
I lost my understanding. Of course, I have. Everything else is just nothing. It's applause.
Deputy McSharry, control yourself. Control yourself. Deputies, I will take action if it's necessary.
I want to set up the Sligo Leitrim.
Deputy McSharry, listen, you're all circumventing the regulations.
This is in a squeeze.
I'll suspend the House.
Suspend it if you like.
Deputy McSharry. Don't speak to Deputy McSharry. Deputy McSharry, you will not speak to the chair like that.
I can't speak to anybody.
You won't speak to the chair.
I can't speak to anybody.
I'll suspend the House for 5 minutes.
Nice.
The Irish government literally has to be put in timeout for 5 minutes.
That's so funny.
I think at least you guys seem to be doing better than that. Yeah, it really actually what that clip reminded me of is the Canadian government.
Get on with the video. We're almost at 3 hours.
Bro, I don't even know what the video's about yet.
It's about housing, obviously.
But I don't simultaneously play the victim and whinge about personal attacks existing while making personal attacks. That would be like Maddie Healy taking a stand against saying.
Okay, so let's make sure. Let's make sure that he doesn't whinge about being
while making attack.
Yeah, he doesn't whinge about personal attacks while making personal attacks. Let's make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay.
Start the clock.
Makes your skin crawl.
I can barely understand anyway, so you're allowed to let me know.
I got it.
In hollow. Speaking of, I just have to show you this Maddie Healy quote. It's too fucking good.
Sex is just a
Who the fuck is this person?
Every 17-year-old girl, you know, everyone's been
I don't know who this is.
Indecisive, flirty girl who just can't make her mind up.
Anyway, I actually should get into some details on the housing stoush rather than
5 minutes in. It's about fucking time.
6 minutes, dude.
In minutes of aesthetic critiques of the Greens of the 1975, but it's just so much more fun. Another thing. No, I'm doing one more. Come on. What is wrong with Maddie Healy's accent?
Oh my fucking god.
We're over 6 minutes.
Okay, sorry. Look, anyway.
Hilarious.
Is a 10. I told you it was more fun. A $10 billion.
Boy, I can't wait to see this.
Hey,
is this the first called the Housing Australia Future?
Okay. Government establishing $10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund. That future fund sounds fishy to me. Normally, when they say future funds, that means that it's not actual investments. It's like
it's interest.
It's like monopoly money that they think is going to grow on trees. It's like kind of like Ponzi schemey future funds. You know, it's like it'll pay off in the future. You put it in now, and then suddenly we'll grow a money tree. That's what when I hear future fund, that's what I think. To provide not sustainable housing, to provide sustainable funding, not housing.
Interesting. Okay, so it is a money tree.
Okay, so to increase housing supply, okay, not sustainable funding for housing, just the supply.
And
so
not now.
Sustainable funding to increase housing supply. That doesn't sound like it addresses the issue. Maybe we'll get more into it. And improve service delivery, okay? Investment from the fund will seek to draw new investment from the state. Okay, so we'll seek to do it, and no guarantees there. Territory governments and private capital providers. Okay. Well, I'm sure the ANCAPs will pay for it. The private capital providers. You know, this sounds like it'll work in an ANCAP system, right? The fund will provide 20,000 new social housing dwellings. How much?
When?
Like, I mean, what's your homelessness? How many people?
I actually don't know.
How many people are homeless in Australia, and how many people will be homeless for when this fucking comes in? And then also, what's your population growth? Because that shit, 20,000 housings units, that's like a fucking, like, Bro.
100,000 people are classified
And
as
it says
homeless.
dwellings. So it's literally
Yeah.
20,000 apartments.
Yes.
It could be 20,000 one-bedroom apartments.
Well, it says new social housing project, so they're literally.
Where does it say that?
Last line, first.
Okay,
paragraph.
I didn't get there yet. But also 10 billion.
116,000
houses.
people.
And it's supposed to grow more money, and the 10 billion can't pay for the 20,000 now.
No. So the problem right now is we have
okay, so what
an unsustainable rental market. Hold on. We have an unsustainable rental market. Nobody can buy a house. There aren't enough houses because of international investment and private companies buying up all our housing. How is this going to solve the problem?
Well, I'm saying even if it does, 10 billion for 20,000 apartments. That's shit. Like, oh, it's 10 billion just to establish a fund that will keep maintaining
just a
itself.
fund, yeah. Yeah.
And then what happens after the 20,000 houses are being built?
Poof.
These are just contracts that are going to soak up.
Yeah, I guess so.
This sounds fucking stupid.
Also,
4,000 of which will be allocated to women and children. Okay, allocated, giving it to them?
That's what it sounds like.
Mm.
Affordable housing dwellings.
Oh, so there you go. Affordable housing. Including for frontline workers. We know frontline workers doesn't mean anything, so.
No.
Future fund. The fund is a bit like a sovereign wealth fund. $10 billion is invested, then the returns of the fund are spent on building social and affordable housing. It's set to build 30,000 homes over the next 5 years. When Labor entered office, we Kevin
okay, that was a different. So it's 30,000. It's 20,000 up here, and then it's going to be an additional one that are just like the social housing. So he said it's 30,000 social housing, but I think it was 10,000
total. 30,000
total, but he said it was 30,000 social housing. It sounds like the 10,000 was only social housing.
10,000 was just for frontline workers.
In a recent report by the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare. Okay. So they're saying last time, this is the source that he pulls. The source says last time Labor did really shitty. After their term, they built 30,000 houses. That's literally what this says.
It came after social housing was dramatically neglected during the Howard era. So no, it's no, they built it during their term. That's what that says.
Yeah, so it's saying up here, Labor's last tenure in office, there was some growth in housing, but over here it says it paints a dismal picture.
Yeah, because there wasn't enough. So there was 30,000 built during their term, is what it's saying.
So they're trying to build 30,000 more during this next term. That'll do it.
Term. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same. They're going to build the same amount of housing that was a dismal.
Yeah,
before,
and then they're all going to be
more
bought
growth
up
on the market.
Yeah, and now they're just going to be bought up by international companies, and it's going to have the same fucking problem that's persisted the entire time. It's not going to solve anything.
There was around 378,000 social housing dwellings. And then when Labor left office, that number had increased to over 408,000. Then, from the coalition entering office from 2013 to 2020, do you know what that number increased to? 420? Yeah! No, it was 416,190 or some shit. That means that for their first 7 years in office, the coalition were building less than 1,100 new dwellings a year. Labor's new fund could build up to 6,000 new dwellings a year. That is a massive increase. The fund is pretty clever because it's designed.
Key point, could. No guarantees.
Also, again, at the end, it's still saying it's going to build the same total number of houses, 30,000.
Exactly.
Ingrain an ongoing source of funding for social housing that sustains itself even when the Liberals are in office, as it's operating independently of the budget, meaning that if the fund passes, it's designed to become a sustained source of housing funding that the Liberals will have little or no incentive to destroy. Look at this graph. That is exactly why the fund is needed. And this is also exactly why it's insanely dishonest for the Greens to even mildly equate Labor with the Liberals. The problem with affordable housing in this country is that it's pretty much only built when Labor's in office. So Labor's fixing that. Funnily, this is the Greens' main gripe with the fund, that it's a fund. that it takes advantage of the reality that Australia is a Western country with a market economy. Oh, I'm sorry. If only the Greens won more seats last election, we could have nationalised everything by now. Ended neoliberalism, whatever the fuck that means. Ended market economy. Ended racism. Ended toxic masculinity. And every problem in Australia would be fixed. Yeah, it's a really realistic platform because we're not promising to end ironic racism.
Ironically, if the Greens were that popular to be elected, there would probably not be a lot of racism or any of those things that they said they would end. Ironically, if they did get elected with that much popularity, you would think that the culture would have changed a lot to be on the Green platform. You know, and I think that's kind of the point of the Green platform is that it's investing in the future, which is why they target young people, right? Yes, young people.
The kind that like Maddie Healy engages in. That's a really
Who is this?
Problem. We just can't look to end in one term. The Greens are kicking up a stink that Labor aren't just making one-off investments
I'm
in.
so pissed later when I'm adding this and my mic is constantly blown out from this guy. I fucking hate this guy so much.
Housing. Oh wait, sorry. Labor are doing that. As Penny Wong noted in the Senate, the bill the Greens are.
Isn't she a China shell?
Yes, she is.
Okay, good. I'm sure Penny Wong will sell all those houses to China. That will solve the issue.
Blocking also includes $2 billion in financing support for social and affordable rental homes, $350 million to build a further 10,000 affordable homes through the Housing Accord, allowing the National Housing and Infrastructure Facility to invest in social and affordable housing, opening up $575 million.
Wait, go back. Just click it back onto that logo. Corporation. So the government's giving money to a corporation to maybe build houses.
And remember how I was saying like the big deal that caused the housing crisis in America is that people were gambling on mortgages and things like that. What do you think? How do you think these funds gained money? How do you think they get
exactly what it is? It's just not banks, so it's.
I got the deal. What if we do the thing that made America collapse in 2008? That'll do it.
An infrastructure facility to invest in social and affordable housing, opening up a potential $575 million in funding, a 15% increase in Commonwealth rent assistance, the largest increase in over 30 years. But let's pretend this fund is the only thing the Labor Party.
He talked too fast. I didn't catch any.
$49 a week. Yeah, that'll solve the problem that I can get a 2-bedroom in
the largest
outer suburb, basically the very, very edge of Metro Melbourne as I can in North Melbourne. That'll solve my problem. $50 a week. Thanks, Labor.
What is a fortnight? Is a week?
Oh, sorry, no, it's $25 a week. Even better. That'll solve the problem. Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh man, dude, I would love $25 a week. That would help me out a lot because I already have my food paid for. You know, like that would be just $25 I could put in my pocket. It wouldn't have to go to
weed money.
Congratulations, your government is investing in housing assistance.
That solves none of the problems. Great.
I mean, I'm sure it will help some people.
Maybe.
How hard is it to get on these programs? What do you have to do to qualify?
I'm not actually sure.
That's the thing. Is it's like I need to know more about the program to know why that it matters. But also it says it's giving the largest boost that's coming on top of a separate thing. So they're giving a boost on top of 2 separate things. So I would say that this is probably good. Normally, investing in government programs tends to be good.
Okay, so to get rent assistance, you need to be on Centrelink.
What is that?
So that's just welfare.
Okay.
Which, if you're on welfare, you can't even afford to rent anyway, so it doesn't really change anything.
Oh, well, even right here, it says it's just increase in the payments. So it's $49 increase on the welfare payment that you would already be getting.
Yeah, but you will already be getting rent assistance, so it'll probably go up from $45 to $49, so it's $2 a week, which is fantastic.
You mean 20 or 2?
No, 2. I'll look up what rent assistance is.
You get $2?
Hold on.
How does that help? I don't think that's right.
Increase in over 30 years. But let's pretend this fund is the only thing the Labor Party's doing, like the Greens want you to believe, for a second. The Greens are pretty much pissed off that Labor has reckoned with the reality They're not in power most of the time. And when Labor aren't in power, the Liberals certainly don't put money into housing. So there needs to be a long-term fix to that. I'm sorry that the long-term fix isn't a revolutionary vanguard of Redditors who will establish a new constitution. Yes, and amendments won't be called amendments. They'll be called
I guarantee you the Greens issue is that it's not directly being funded into housing that we need now. And he's making the excuse as the scapegoat. It's like, oh, well, if we did that, what happens when we're out? Then there won't be any new houses built. There's not being new houses built anyway with your fucking idea. You're not building new houses. They're not coming. It's coming 10 years or 5 years from down the road, and then maybe, we don't know if it will happen.
Actually, the first actually of the new constitution, actually there should be a right for everyone to have access to sex workers because dopamine is a human right. Weekly peggings will now be covered by Medicare. Like, listen, this is their critique of the scheme.
Actually, even Rudd did that, and I'm not a huge fan of him, but like in the last Labor government, they spent $5 billion and built a bunch of social housing. And it really is that simple. Obviously theirs isn't though.
Yes. So, and the thinking behind it is by putting a $10 billion housing fund, that's budget neutral.
It sounds scripted.
They are. I mean, they know exactly what they wanted to talk about and how they're likely. We do the same thing. I mean, we're
okay. So you get rent assistance. Single person is $78.60. This is provided that you get no money at all. The more money you earn, the less money you get, which is also reducing in the rent assistance too. If you earn, I think it's like $250 a week, you get nothing. So realistically, this does nothing.
Right. So we still.
That's like minimum wage here. If you make minimum wage, you get nothing. Is that what you're telling me? That sounds like minimum wage.
Well, it's not minimum wage because nobody can afford to fucking live anywhere. So that's great.
No, but what is a 40-hour minimum wage? How much a week? Because I don't know what your dollars
I will
are.
tell you. I think it actually went up. I think it went up like 20 cents. So it's 22.
Because that's what you have to grade this all on, is the minimum wage.
855 Australian dollars
a week
is which is
well. So if you make a quarter of minimum wage, you get nothing.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, or it's like 300, something like that. I'm just going off my personal experience, so it's $580 a week. Is minimum wage, and if you make that much, you lose your benefits.
Yeah, because you said 20. It was like 25. So you would have to make half of what you could make working minimum wage in 40 hours. If you make half of what the standard minimum wage is in 40 hours, you lose all the benefits. You don't have benefits in your system then.
Not really.
They don't exist.
Still has the $10 billion. So they haven't actually spent the $10 billion. They've used the $10 billion to, in theory, generate more revenue to then kind of spend even not on houses.
It's an entirely an accounting trick. So, yeah, exactly. So basically, the effect on the budget is just paying the interest of them taking out a $10 billion loan. And then the budget, it won't look like they've spent $10 billion because, yes, the $10 billion is an asset that the government get to hold on to. It is literally just so they don't have to, on the one side, they can say in the budget, look, we're not spending that much on housing. And then in the public, they can say, look, we're spending lots on housing. Why are you getting upset? It's like a way to gaslight the entire election.
Maybe it was a bit.
I think that was a good point, even though he was at least better than this guy. But I think that was a perfectly valid point that he just made. I mean, that's kind of what's going on.
Mistake to vote for a party that views dealings in government like arguments in a polyamorous relationship. Labor are fucking gaslighting us. And did you see Jackie Lambie? She's like...
They said they were gaslighting the public, which they are. You're muted.
Yeah. So I found it. So basically, if you are on Job Seeker, if you earn up to $150 a fortnight, so every 2 weeks, nothing is reduced. For every dollar over 150 per fortnight, you lose 40 cents for each dollar you earn. 50 cents for each dollar between 150 and 256, then 60 cents for each dollar over $256. So basically,
basically, you would have to be a slave to the state to even qualify for this, as in
yes,
heavily disabled. This
pretty
is
much, yeah.
It's like if you're not in a wheelchair, this is not for you. Like,
yeah,
it's so it really doesn't solve the issue because like you need to house those people anyway.
And this is per fortnight, by the way, not per week.
I know. That's
so
if you're a
it's
disabled
even worse.
person, that's what happens. But at least you have all your benefits paid for. And libertarians will say they're a slave to the state, and it's like, okay, dude, they'll die.
Like more into Labour now.
I love how this dude's issue is just that they use the word gaslighting.
Yeah, so fucking fake. Let's go to Labour to teach them a lesson. The other thing the Greens like to say is,
okay, so what did we say minimum wage was? $850
I don't
a
know.
week?
You said 500 at 800.
It's $580, right?
Okay.
Which is
okay. That was US dollars. It's
850,
800
yeah.
Australian. Fuck US dollars. We're using your currency.
Okay,
right now.
850 for income cutoff point for single, no children on job seeker is $1,337. So let's plug that in, divided by 2. That means you have to make $668 a week. So
3/4 of the minimum wage.
yeah.
That's when you lose everything.
That's when you get cut.
If you make 3/4, okay, I'd say that's realistic. That's part time. That's about like it's basically if you have a really good part time job, that's not too bad then.
Yeah, the problem is that rent in basically every suburb in metropolitan Melbourne is $400 a week.
Yeah.
So realistically, you're spending $300 a week to have a share house, to live in a room in a house, right? To get your own place, add on top of that utilities, you're fucked. There's no way that you can afford rent plus utilities and groceries and petrol and all this shit if you're working a part-time job, because you lose your benefits at 3/4 of minimum wage.
Well, maybe you just shouldn't be disabled.
You know what I'm saying?
no. You don't know if it'll build houses because what if the fund loses money because
Oh no, I'm sure it will build houses. I'm just saying it's still a fucking stupid idea.
the existing future fund went down 1.2% last year. Yeah, well, for one, they're using an outlier year to make that argument, and I can't believe it, but I'm going to defend Peter Costello, the chairman of the existing future fund, who pointed out that a 1.2% decline is pretty good when globally stocks and bonds were down 10%. Jesus, you only have to look at any Hustler infographic Instagram page to know that the market goes up in the long term. Since its inception, the future fund's annualized return is 7.6%.
The market stops going up when your housing collapses.
Infinite growth. Infinite growth. It grows forever.
It collapses. And like Australia, America, its capitalism has collapsed twice.
You know why he's so
haven't you not had a complete
Never.
capital collapse?
Yeah, never.
Crazy. You're
It's
overdue
coming.
for one. It's
coming.
It's
Yeah.
100%
I've been
coming.
saying this for years, and
Dude.
it's coming quick.
And guess who's bringing it? This is what is the line from Ghostbusters where you have to envision your destroyer? What is the line? And then it's like the Marshmallow Man comes.
Yeah.
Who's the form of your destroyer?
Yeah.
The year before the 1.2% declined.
How could he be mad? He's got friendly in the name. He's not trying to kill us all with a housing collapse.
Future fund went up 22%. You can have a look at every year's return right here. It's pretty clear how much of a lie this line the Greens peddle is of.
What if it loses money is not a lie. You can just say, what if it loses money?
Yeah. It's more of a question that they're posing is like, maybe infinite growth isn't such a good idea, and maybe we should probably have some.
Maybe we shouldn't gamble with
insurance.
We shouldn't gamble, and we should just invest. You know what? 100% raises value when you invest in it? Property, bro. Oh, that's what they should do. They should invest directly in property. That would be smart.
We don't even know if houses will be built, because what if the fund loses money? The West's entire foreign, monetary and social policy is designed to ensure that over the long term, number go up. And Labor are taking advantage of this to ensure a...
I wouldn't say it's designed to make sure. It's just infinite growth profit motive. That's the goal. It's not to make sure. It's that everyone needs to go in that direction.
And it doesn't matter how many people get fucked along the way.
Yeah.
Continued source of funding for housing.
This is just like Trump said the economy was great because he could point to the stock market being good. Like, congratulations, you crammed down pricings. Dude, he fucked Iraq so hard with forcing down oil prices when they needed to make that they needed an economic recovery really bad that year. He fucked Iraq so hard.
In terms of domestic violence. But yes, some years number go down. That's why the fund is not the only part of Labor's housing bill, but it's also why it's good, because most years there's a party in power that gives nothing to build social housing. Now, all this being said, do I think Labor should do more to address the housing crisis? Yes.
Okay, here's the thing. If the other party doesn't build houses and you're in a housing crisis, democratically, who are people going to vote for? Probably the people who build houses. Build some fucking houses.
Yeah, but they're not doing that.
The unions.
Infinite growth. Infinite growth.
It's because they're addicted to losing.
Jackie Lambie and other crossbenchers also think that, but they're not blocking what's proposed and misrepresenting Labor's proposals to further their careers. I think even Labor thinks it should do more. You know who does?
Going to be the victim so we can win again and then lose.
It's just like, oh no, we'll do it. We'll build the houses, and then they just pretend to. They literally, they just pretending that houses are going to be built. And then the housing crisis isn't going to be solved. The election is going to come. They're going to be like, well, nobody has built houses. And then they'll elect the Greens, and then everyone will be gay and mandatory pegging for Geordie.
Doesn't, though. The majority of Australians, apparently. Labor lost 2 elections proposing reform to negative gearing and capital gains tax concessions. I made a video earlier this year on why those 2 reforms would have greatly improved housing affordability. But Australians, with a little help from the press, rejected Labor in those 2 elections.
Oh no, a democracy.
With those policies being a major factor in that rejection. So Labor dropped them in 2022 and won. Now, do I like the fact that we live in a country where the press, property peak bodies, developers, and the coalition control public policy to that great extent? No.
How long has your housing crisis been going on?
At least 5 years.
Okay, so Labor wasn't in power when they lost before. There was no housing crisis when they lost?
No, there probably was. Let me just check.
You had the guy who runs away from forest fires before. He was the... He was liberal, right?
Yes, Scott Morrison. Yeah,
so if it's only been going on for 5 years, it happened under their admin. It has nothing to do with we had these housing policies and didn't have a housing crisis, and they are core to our platform, and people didn't vote for them.
So ABC says decades of poor housing policies, which means it's probably been building for decades.
No, yes, of course it's been building for decades. No shit. That's because government just kicks the can down the road. I want to know when officially it's like housing has become a crisis in Australia.
Well, definitely at least during COVID. Definitely before that though.
But do you think the last time Labor was in the administration, there was a serious housing crisis, and it was going to be one of the main concerns? Was a housing crisis the central thing that needed to happen?
No.
Oh, right.
It didn't.
It didn't. So they had policies that dealt with something that wasn't in demand. Okay. They could have probably ran with those policies again and won this time because people wanted housing. But you want to know why they dropped them? Because they didn't want to promise too much, because they knew they were going to have the advantage anyway, because they would have the housing anyway. People are going to vote for them for the housing anyway because there's a housing crisis. So why give the people more than what they want?
Why not just propose rent control? just
that sounds communist to me.
because I can't shut up about this shit. But I recognise that reality, and to actually achieve
you deserved it.
Outcomes in Australia, you have to work within reality. Who really thinks this is a good tactic? Demanding of Labor, break your promises. Otherwise, we will block the measures you actually have a mandate for that will address the housing crisis. Measures, mind you, that aren't a cap. They've said it a million times. Measures that are just the beginning. So in essence, it's the Greens voting against Labor's bill because why?
I think a better just the beginning would be building houses now. Should probably begin with building houses.
They are building houses. They're just building houses in housing companies which are funded by China and foreign corporations and then get bought up by foreign interests.
Years from now.
There are housing constructions everywhere, but they're all already bought by foreign corporations and the Chinese. So there's not much that we can do because they're gone already. There's no point. It's not building anything. It's building income investments for foreigners.
That they don't get to administer the solution. This is what
sounds racist to me.
What I don't get about the Greens platform. Half of it is how very powerful interests.
What'd you say?
Fuck the American company BlackRock. Racist.
Control the country. The other half is going, oh, why hasn't Labor nationalised Adani and replaced the CEO with a drag queen who can also double as our defence minister and tell the Americans to fuck off, and then we can cut defence spending and do what really matters, invest in mental health comedy nights. It would be so easy to do. After all, everything's possible in a parliamentary democracy. All you have to do is vote Greens. I guess that's the sell. For Greens to succeed, Labor has to appear to fail. But are you really naive enough to think that even if the most improbable thing happened, the Greens won office, it would last longer than a term, with all the vested interests against it and the party?
If you have to vote a progressive party in, they're going to leave once they're no longer necessary. So it might be a term, it might be two terms, but I can guarantee you, even if they have 2 terms, they will fall back into irrelevancy.
Yeah, very quickly. That's
very
the whole
quickly.
point of
Once you stop needing them, it'll go back to the 2 like primary bureaucrat parties.
Yeah.
Party of Redditors would resist the forces that permeate and influence all Western governments and govern more effectively than Labor. The fact that their best tactic on this housing bill is not negotiating, to quote the Twitch streamers their voters watch way too much in good faith, and actually achieving positive outcomes like the other crossbenchers have done, but holding it hostage and lying about.
Okay, I doubt they're holding it hostage. I think they're trying to negotiate, so you probably fund in direct housing. I guarantee you, if I Google this, that's the exact thing. I don't know anything about this fucking country, and I guarantee you that the block right now coming from the Green Party is going to ask for, like, what is the bill? How much are they? How much billions?
10?
10 billion for the whole thing. They're probably going to say they want 2 billion in direct housing right now. Just a guess. Maybe 4. What do you think?
I reckon it'd be more. I reckon it'd be more than 10. They'll be asking for more because they need it right now. It needs to be immediate. Also,
well, they
got what I was going to say.
Well, I was going to say it's a negotiation, so this fund is still going to be in place. They're just going to want some of it pulled away for direct housing now, right? Isn't that makes sense to me about what they would be asking?
Well, they might be asking for a guarantee instead of a promise.
Okay, so what concessions have been made?
I'm not sure.
What have Greens gotten in the negotiations?
I couldn't tell you. I don't care.
Yeah,
I would rather claw my own eyes out than pay attention to Australian politics.
Well,
it's literally the most boring subject on earth.
Well, no, what are you doing? Friendly Jordies is so much fun. You told all the jokes about some guy I don't know. I just spent 80 minutes with Friendly Jordies, and almost all of that was jokes I didn't understand. The concessions have been made, so they have a guaranteed 500 million minimum spend every year, because that's what I think before it was up to 500 million per year. So that wouldn't be able to build enough houses with the growth. It couldn't be up to. You would already be under if that was your math.
So it needs to be a minimum.
Okay, agreed to index the fund to increase it every year. Okay. All this did was make the policy better by increasing the maximum funding. Congrats, Jordy. They're building even more housing with the fund that you love. Good job. Thankfully, the Greens were there to improve your policy to make it have even more money. It makes you wonder why they weren't in the bill to begin with. Probably because Labor knew that the Green would have to block to put these basic members.
And then they can demonize the Greens and get their political
they don't
point.
have to make more concessions than they don't want to. right? And if the Greens weren't there, do you think the stuff would have been in there to begin with anyway? No, it wouldn't. They would just pass the underlined bill anyway. So it's the Greens just exist to be a pointless bureaucracy just to make things get fleshed out completely for that side of the government.
Sounds about right.
The fact that they're not accounting for inflation in the original bill, stupid. The fact that a communist is telling me how dumb this is and explaining it better than whatever this guy was. So also, because the spending is, the $500 spending is like you have to spend that $500 million, right? So the thing is that they're putting the money into the fund anyway. So could it lose money? Yes. But even if it breaks even, all that money will still at least go in, like it will be consumed. It's not going to drag it out. It's going to consume it as quickly. It's going to consume it more quickly. So if it's just this milk-toke fucking floating carcass on the fucking river type bill. Okay, I mean what the Greens' demands are. Guess what the first one is?
I have no idea.
Investing in housing right now directly. That's the first demand. Called it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I know how just standard government works. Wouldn't see houses built until 2025. Sounds shitty to me. Sounds like you need to build houses now and then use the fund later. If it's a fund and it's supposed to grow, why not cut some out, build houses now? If it's supposed to grow and it's supposed to be a great fund and it's definitely going to work and you believe in labor, then you get houses now and later.
Yeah, that would make more sense, would it not?
Oh, it's crazy.
It's almost like there's corporate interest involved. Probably corporate interests that have shares in the fund, I would almost imagine.
Oh, 2 days ago, Labor announced what did I say? $2 billion. I called it. I said, how much is the budget? You said it was 10. I said they're gonna put 2 in. That's what they're gonna get out of them. That's what the Greens are gonna get out of them. Called it.
Interesting.
Congratulations, the Greens improved your fucking policy, Jordy. Bro, they're 2 weeks. That $2 billion that they cut out, it's going out in 2 weeks.
That's how long it'll take to allocate it.
Yeah, it's literally already in the process. They're putting the checks in the mail, dude.
Interesting. That was pretty quick.
It's the same. That $2 billion would be the same amount that they were planning to spend in 4 years. They're now spending it right away.
Good.
Basically, it was like a $1 billion like incentive thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that the states and territories introduce a freeze on rent increases.
Okay. It's not good enough.
That's rent control.
It's not good enough. It's already fucked. It needs to be reduced.
At least it's something.
It's something, but it's not enough because rent, I looked it up, the median weekly rental is $560.
You know what this guy is? This man Jordy's here.
So long, Bowser!